All right, everyone, get ready, because we're taking a deep dive today into how AI is changing medical imaging.
We're talking radiomics.
And to make it even cooler, we're going to focus on something called gray level run length matrix analysis, GLRLM for short.
Which is way more exciting than it sounds, I promise.
So, before we get too deep into it, what exactly is radiomics?
Well, think of it like this.
Yeah.
You have a medical image, like a CT scan.
Gotcha. Like the ones we used to see inside the body.
Exactly. Radiomics is all about pulling out a ton of information from those pictures.
More than we can just see with our eyes.
Way more, like hidden messages. It's like having a secret decoder ring for medical images. And that's where the AI comes in.
So the AI is like our superpowered decoder.
Exactly. AI can spot patterns that we humans might miss, helping doctors diagnose diseases like cancer earlier.
That's amazing. So GLRLM, that's part of this whole radiomics thing.
It is. It's one specific technique, and it's all about analyzing texture.
Texture, like how smooth or rough something feels.
Yep, just like that. Think about feeling different fabrics.
Okay, I get it. One might be soft and smooth, another rough or bumpy.
Exactly. Well, GLRLM lets us do something similar with medical images. By looking at the texture, we can tell a lot about the tissues.
So is the AI basically saying, hey, this texture looks kind of weird?
Ha ha ha. Well, it's a bit more involved than that. The lecture we're looking at breaks the whole process down into 6 steps.
6 steps. All right, lay it on me.
It all starts with getting a clear picture.
Makes sense. That's step 1.
X-ray, CT scan, MRI, whatever it is. Gotta have a good image.
Right.
Then we zero in on the part we're interested in. That's called segmentation.
Kind of like using a magnifying glass to focus on one spot.
Precisely. No, we don't want the AI getting distracted by the other stuff going on in the image.
Right. Got to keep it focused.
And then here comes the cool part, feature extraction. This is where GLRLM really shines. Imagine a grid.
Okay, like graph paper.
Perfect analogy. Each square on that grid represents how bright a pixel is in the image. GLRLM counts how many times similar brightness levels line up in a row. We call those runs.
Runs. Okay. So lots of long runs mean things are pretty smooth.
Exactly. And a bunch of short runs might mean something's up.
Like if there's a tumor or something, the texture would be different.
You got it. But hold on, there's a catch.
Uh-oh. There's always a catch.
What if the image is blurry?
Yeah, that would mess things up, wouldn't it? All the pixels would be jumbled up.
Exactly. That's why the next step is super important. Pre-processing. We clean up the data and get rid of anything that could confuse the AI.
So we got to make sure the AI is getting the right information and not getting tripped up by a blurry picture or something.
Precisely, like prepping for an exam, make sure we got all the right study material.
I like that analogy. So we've prepped our image, we've extracted the important features.
Yeah.
What's next?
Time to bring in the AI, but we got to pick the right model for the job.
There's more than one type of AI.
Oh yeah, tons. It's like picking the right tool from a toolbox.
So some AI is better at spotting certain patterns than others.
You got it. And just like with any tool, we got to make sure it works properly. So the next step is training, validation, and testing. We show the AI a bunch of examples and see how well it learns.
Like sending the AI to medical school.
Exactly. Got to train it to be a top-notch diagnostician.
This is so cool. I want to rewind a bit, though. Back to GLRLM.
All right, back to texture analysis.
The lecture actually shows how to calculate a GLRLM matrix, and I got to be honest, it looks a bit intimidating. They use a 5x5 image matrix as an example.
Right, a nice, simple example to illustrate the process. They walk you through it step by step.
I get the idea, but all those numbers are making my head spin a little. What's the key takeaway here?
Don't sweat the calculations too much. The main thing is that matrix gives us a way to measure the texture of the image. We can then pull out different statistical measures from it, like short-run emphasis and long-run emphasis.
Okay, hold on. You mentioned short runs earlier, but what exactly does short-run emphasis mean? What's it telling us?
Basically, it tells us how many short runs there are in the image. If there's a lot of short runs, that means the texture is more complex, and that could be a sign of something abnormal.
Ah, so it's a red flag that something might be wrong.
Exactly. And you know what's really cool?
Look at that.
Research has shown that short-run emphasis can be really useful for catching lung cancer early.
Wow, so we're talking about detecting cancer before it's even visible on a regular scan.
That's the power of texture analysis. And remember, we're not just looking at the image in one direction.
Oh, right. Like with the different fabrics, we can feel them from different angles.
Exactly. We scan the image in multiple directions to build up a complete picture of the texture.
So it's kind of like taking multiple X-rays from different angles to see the area in 3D.
You got it. Gives us a much richer understanding. Now, once we've got all these measures from the GLRLM,
We hand them over to the AI.
right, and that's where the real magic starts to happen. We teach the AI to connect those measures to different medical conditions.
So we're training the AI to be like a texture detective.
Exactly. Looking for those subtle clues that tell us what's going on. And the more data we feed it, the better it gets.
This is mind-blowing. We're using AI to diagnose diseases just by looking at the texture of an image. I can't wait to see what else we uncover in this deep dive.
It's amazing, right? All that information hidden in plain sight.
It's like a whole secret language our bodies are speaking through texture.
And we're just starting to understand it. Think about it. This could be used for way more than just cancer.
Oh yeah, like what?
Cardiology, for instance.
Yeah.
Analyzing heart images.
Wow.
Neurology, looking at brain scans, even predicting how well someone might respond to treatment.
So we could be talking about personalized medicine based on, what, a patient's unique texture.
It's one of the most exciting things about this field. Tailoring treatment plans to each individual person based on what their images are telling us.
Powerful stuff. Okay, but let's get real for a sec. There's got to be some limitations here, right? Can't be perfect.
You're absolutely right. No technology is perfect. One of the biggest things we're working on is standardization.
Standardization, what do you mean?
Well, you have different research groups, right?
Yeah.
And they might be using slightly different ways to calculate the GLRLM or extract the features.
Sounds like everyone's speaking a slightly different dialect of this texture language.
Exactly. It makes it tough to compare results across different studies. That's why we're working on clear guidelines, make sure everyone's on the same page.
Makes sense. Got to have a universal translator for this texture talk. What else? What other challenges are out there?
Well, think about the amount of data we're talking about, especially with 3D images like CT scans and MRIs.
Yeah, huge amount of information of those.
It takes a ton of computing power to process all that.
So we need faster computers, smarter algorithms.
We need it all. But the good news is the field is advancing quickly.
That's good to hear. So maybe someday soon this will be standard practice in hospitals.
That's the goal. And you know what's really cool?
What's that?
The lecture actually gives some Python code examples you can use to play around with GLRLM yourself.
Wait, are you saying our students can actually try this out?
Absolutely. They can run these scripts, see firsthand how GLRLM is calculated.
That's amazing.
It's one thing to talk about the theory, but to actually see it in action, that's powerful.
I bet our students will love that, getting their hands dirty.
It's a great way to really solidify their understanding.
So the first script, it shows how to do the GLRLM for a simple 2D matrix, right?
Right. Walks you through it step by step.
It shows how to scan the matrix in different directions, all that.
Exactly. Great visual aid.
And then the second script, that's where things get really interesting.
Because that's where we apply it to a real medical image.
So students can see those features we talked about, short run emphasis, all those actually being calculated from a real example. This is fantastic. Do you have any advice for our students who want to dive deeper into this stuff?
Be curious. Explore. Don't be intimidated by the techie stuff. This field is all about pushing boundaries.
It's about using our brains to unlock the secrets in these images. And ultimately, that's about helping people.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, what GLRLM is, how it works, the challenges, the potential, even how our students can get involved.
A lot to digest.
But I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, 3D images.
Ah, yes, taking GLRLM into the third dimension.
So far, we've mostly talked about flat images, X-rays and such, but what about CT scans and MRIs, the ones that give us that 3D view?
Well, instead of just looking at texture along 4 directions, up, down, diagonal,
Right.
now we have to consider all possible directions.
Oh, that sounds a lot more complicated.
It is. It's a whole new level.
Like going from a flat map to a globe, right?
Perfect analogy.
Ah.
And to do this right, we have to use something called spherical coordinates.
Spherical coordinates. Okay, you're losing me a little.
Think of it like GPS coordinates for 3D images. Instead of X, Y, and Z, we use angles to pinpoint the location.
All right, I kind of get it. But I bet there's other challenges too, right? Moving into the 3D world.
No, absolutely. One common one is that medical images, they often have different dimensions.
Different dimensions. How so?
Well, the spacing between slices in a CT scan, for example,
Yeah.
that might be different from the pixel size within each slice.
So it's like trying to fit puzzle pieces together that aren't quite the same shape.
Exactly. So to fix that, we use something called padding. We add a bit of space around the image to make all the dimensions consistent.
So it's like framing a picture to make it fit nicely on the wall. We're giving the analysis a nice, even canvas to work with.
Exactly. Padding makes sure those GLRLM calculations are accurate, no matter the original image size.
This is wild, the amount of thought that goes into this stuff.
It's all about making sure the results are reliable.
And it just goes to show, even something as simple as analyzing texture can get really complex fast.
And that's what makes it so exciting. There's always something new to discover.
Wow, from flat images to the 3D world, we've really gone deep on this one.
And yet, we've only scratched the surface. Radiomics is a rapidly evolving field, always new stuff popping up.
Which makes me think, we've talked about how GLRLM can help us with cancer, early detection, tumor types, even treatment response. But what about the bigger picture? How do you see radiomics changing healthcare in the future?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Imagine a world where your medical scans aren't just about diagnosing what's wrong right now,
Okay, I'm listening.
but also predicting future risks, like a personalized health forecast.
Based on the textures in your images, that's wild.
Exactly. Radiomics and AI, they could help us shift from reactive medicine to proactive healthcare.
Catching things before they even become a problem.
Precisely. Identifying risks, intervening early, potentially preventing diseases altogether.
That would be incredible.
And it goes beyond prevention. Think about personalized treatment plans.
Oh yeah, we touched on that earlier.
Analyze a tumor's texture, for example. We could predict which therapies will work best for that specific patient.
So instead of one-size-fits-all treatments, we get something tailored to each person.
Exactly. Using the information in medical images to make better decisions, deliver better care.
This has been eye-opening for sure. Radiomics and AI, they're going to revolutionize medicine. But I want to leave our student listeners with one last thought.
All right, shoot.
We've talked about the amazing possibilities, but like any powerful tech, there's also ethical stuff to consider.
Oh, absolutely. As AI plays a bigger role in healthcare, we have to address those ethical questions head on.
Things like data privacy, making sure the algorithms are fair, keeping humans in the loop when making decisions.
All crucial. We can't forget the human side of medicine.
These tools should help doctors and patients, not replace them.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about responsible use of technology, making healthcare better for everyone.
More accurate, more efficient, fairer, and truly focused on the patient.
That's the goal.
And for our students out there, that's the challenge and the opportunity. You guys are the future of healthcare.
You'll be the ones shaping how these technologies are used.
So keep asking questions. Stay curious. Don't be afraid to explore. The future of medicine is in your hands.
It's an exciting time to be in this field.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into radiomics and AI. If you want to learn more, check out those lecture notes and code examples we mentioned. Who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to make the next big breakthrough. Until next time, keep diving deep.